Hi guys, this is JasonDon.com and I'm here with Xiaomi Mi 4i. This is the first Xiaomi phone that we test and it was launched in India in April. Also, it's priced at $202 in this country, so it's an affordable mid-range handset. On paper, it should be able to fight even some flagships from last year, but let's see in real life if it can manage that or not. This one is a dual SIM phone that runs Android with MIUI 6 applied on top of it. So as far as the design is concerned, this handset measures 7.8mm in thickness and it weighs 130 grams. It feels a bit like a first generation Nokia Lumia phone and it's small and compact. It has a soft touch back available in white in this version. It's comfy and it has reasonably thick bezels, as you can see right here. Other stuff for mentioning is that it feels a bit like the iPhone 5C, but in spite of using plastic at the back and sides with a sort of wraparound case, it has a solid build. The plastic body, as I said, both at the back and on the sides with a continuously flowing design. It comes in grey, black, white, also yellow, blue and pink. It's slightly slippery because of the matte soft touch back, actually too soft, that's why it's slippery. Very compact, very comfy and feels much lighter than it actually is. One hand usage is also comfy. You can reach all the areas of the screen with a finger without a problem, as I'm doing right now. And inside, to keep everything even more solid, there's a magnesium alloy structure. So let's analyze all of its sides now. Up front we have an earpiece, front camera, there is also a notification LED here, plus sensors, and then below the display you can see the 3 capacitive buttons right here, while at the back there is a special coating against fingerprints and grease, special resistance. We got the main camera and dual LED flash, a microphone right here, and the speaker with 114 holes here, as well as a little area that lifts the phone up, so there is no coverage of the speaker. At the top there is the audio jack, while at the bottom there is a microphone and the microUSB port. On the left side we got the dual SIM slots, both are micro SIM slots, and we're going to use a special metal key to detach this tray. While on the right we got stainless steel buttons. They feel comfy but also a bit flimsy and noisy when pressed. Okay, this is overall a light and comfy phone. It's not very original as far as the design goes. It feels like a combo between a Nokia Lumia 1st generation and an iPhone 5C. Okay, so that's the design, and now we're going to the hardware section. In the hardware area, we run into a 5-inch screen, sharp GDI Full HD screen with an IPS LCD panel available. Specs also include an octa-core Snapdragon 615 processor. It's a 64-bit CPU clocked at 1.7 GHz, and we also get an Adreno 405 GPU, and the RAM is 2 GB here, LPDDR3 in case you're wondering. The device comes with 16 or 32 GB of storage, and no, there's no microSD card slot right here. As far as the cameras are concerned, there is a 5-megapixel shooter up front and a 13-megapixel shooter at the back, and on the connectivity side we get 4G LTE, Bluetooth 4.1, dual band Wi-Fi display, Wi-Fi direct. There's also FM radio, GPS, GLONASS and microUSB 2.0. We also have sensors available here, electronic sensor, electronic compass, gravity sensor, light sensor, gyroscope, and finally a proximity sensor. Okay, now we're in the area of the battery. So let's see what we're dealing with here. This model comes with a 3120 mAh battery. It's a lithium polymer unit that uses a 4.4 volt 700 Wh per liter cell. It also has apparently quick charging that takes the battery up to 40% in 60 minutes. On paper, this model offers 11 hours of video playback, or 35 hours of 3G talk time, or 59 hours of music. In our test that involves HD video playback in a loop with Wi-Fi on and brightness of 50%, we achieved 9 hours and 22 minutes, which is very good for a mid-range handset with a 5-inch screen. With those 9 hours and 22 minutes that I mentioned before, we managed to beat some higher end models like the LG G4. As you probably know, the LG G4 is able to score 8 hours and 55 minutes, and we scored 9 hours and 22 minutes. We even beat the Samsung Galaxy A5 that achieved 9 hours, while we achieved 22 minutes more. Okay, and meanwhile we totally beat the HTC One M9 that reaches 6 hours and 9 minutes. We also did a Pcmark test, it should be here somewhere. And I should also mention, as I said before, this model may be high performing with those 9 hours and 22 minutes, but it's also a bit below the Microsoft Lumia 640 XL LTE that scores 9 hours and 49 minutes, beating us by about 20 minutes. And we also got beaten by the HTC One M8 with its 10 hours and 15 minutes. Now let's get back to Pcmark since we started that. So Pcmark is continuous usage simulation with brightness at 200 lux, and we achieved here 5 hours and 29 minutes, which is good for a mid-ranger. We beat the HTC Desire 820 with its 5 hours and 25 minutes, and also the OnePlus One, we beat it by about 14 minutes. Still, we're below the Galaxy A5 with 6 hours and 51 minutes, and also below the LG AKA with 6 hours and 22 minutes. The charging of the Xiaomi Mi 4i takes 2 hours and 9 minutes, at least is better than the HTC One M8 and is 2 hours and 30 minutes, or the HTC One M9 and is 2 hours and 20 minutes. Obviously there are phones out there that are able to charge faster than this one, like the Galaxy S5 1 hour and 55 minutes, or the LG G Flex 2 1 hour and 47 minutes. And overall I would have to say that this is a pretty good playback time. We almost got to the level of 9 hours and a half, and the battery is quite good. Speaking of battery and this performance, we can also tweak it by going to the settings and going to the battery area, provided that we can find it. So this is it, battery. And now let's see what the options available here are. So we go to power, and you can see here an estimation of the battery usage. You also have battery profiles. You can improve the battery life with a series of profiles. You got default that will clear the processes running in the background at the lock screen, and a few sub options associated here. You also have marathon that disables the Wi-Fi and data services and also changes the brightness. We also have sleep that disables all network functionality except for the alarm clock. And finally my profile that allows you to tweak your experience and change each of these aspects like brightness, sleep, airplane mode, Wi-Fi, mobile networks, vibrate, sync, GPS and all that. And you can add one more profile and tweak everything you need. Okay, so these are the profiles that you can be using. And then there's the battery saver that once activated allows you to switch to a certain profile when reaching a certain percentage. Also special settings here. If the battery is low, switch to marathon, default or other options, and finally disable when plugged in. There's also a schedule profile switch and a schedule power on off in case you're going to be needing that. Other than that, let's see what else we got here. The display of the battery level, battery percentage and all that. Then the battery use, which apps and what hardware are using the most of the battery indicator, and power settings that can be performance or balanced. And finally, you can optimize system performance by hiding system animations or showing system animations. That's all up to you. Okay, so lots of functionality for the battery, which is always welcome. So even though the battery offers a lot of functioning time, you can even extend it with those options. So overall good battery. And now we proceed to the acoustics. So a single speaker at the back, quite big. No headphones bundled with this model, as you saw in the unboxing. And the handset comes with smart PA playback, so basically sound amplification according to its maker. And there is this small thing here, I don't know if you see it. It's a small mechanism that keeps it from laying flat on a surface in order to avoid muffling. The music player, it's a typical MIUI affair, meaning it's a minimal player with a minimal interface. It feels a bit like iTunes in some aspects, and we got offline and online songs to listen to. And now let's actually listen to a tune. Okay, now some conclusions. We got a clear and crisp sound, not very loud, an okay bass, and some muffling, as you can see. Of course, it could be more serious, but thanks to that special mechanism at the back, it's not as serious. The options offered by the player are pretty limited. We got share, we got delete, set as ringtone, edit song info, and sleep timer in case you feel you're falling asleep. We also did a test. We used the Decibel Meter to see how this device is doing, and this is the test. At the back of the phone, the Decibel Meter showed 77 decibels, while at the front of the phone, a pretty disappointing 72.1 decibels. Most of the phones we test here at gsmknown.com go past 80 decibels, and even lesser performance like the Amazon Fire phone that reached 75.7 decibels were better than this model. The Amazon Fire phone reached 75.7 decibels at the front, just like this model that scored 72. The Xperia E4 from Sony, 76.2 decibels, also beating us. And finally the Samsung Galaxy A5, 77.6 decibel, its front value. So overall a bit of a letdown as far as the volume is concerned, the Xiaomi Mi 4i. And then let's go to the special options yet again. So settings, sound, got volumes, vibration, and special audio settings. We got headphone remote buttons with functionality attached to them. You can assign buttons to that, and most of these special options here will involve attaching a pair of headphones. So we got an equalizer, we got Mi sound enhancer, but once again you need a pair of headphones here, which we didn't get with the device. However, in case you're using another pair of headphones, you can apply equalizer settings. There's also 7 custom channels to play with here and enhancements for the sound, but only in the ear and not using the speaker. Too bad that we don't have speaker options for the speaker at the back, maybe even some enhancement for that, and maybe a bit of a louder volume. Now as far as the display is concerned, you can see that it's pretty crisp, pretty bright and well lit. Also the colors look nice. It's a sharp GDI screen, a 5-inch Full HD unit, and its NTSC color gamut is 95%, while the iPhone 6 had a color gamut of 72% apparently. It has 441 ppi density, it has full lamination, and a Corning Concord glass protection, 178-degree wide viewing angles, and an IPS LCD panel. The video player here is theoretically the gallery. Practically there is a video player app that's sort of hidden, so to say. Okay, so this is the standard video test that we do, and as you can see it passed to another app, although it's hidden and can be accessed. This is it. This is the playback, the video playback experience on the handset, and the settings are volume, brightness, aspect ratio, and enhanced audio. We got very vivid colors here, almost oversaturated, a bright and crisp screen. So let's start from the beginning. As I said before, very vivid and bright, wide viewing angles, very wide viewing angles. The contrast is okay, and the blacks are not deep. This phone isn't very good in sunlight, as I noticed, and the pixels are of the RGB stripe kind. Now speaking of pixels and things like that, we have a microscope and we're not afraid to use it. This is what the screen looks like under the microscope, RGB stripe pixels. We also have a Lux Meter, and it has shown a value of 385 lux units, which is good for a mid-range smartphone. It beats some high-end models. The HTC One M9 scored 362 lux, the Huawei P8 346 lux, the Huawei Honor 6 383 lux, so almost equal to this one. Still, we're below the OnePlus One, 404 lux, HTC Desire 820, 396 lux, or the mid-ranger Wiko Rainbow with its 420 lux. Overall, it's a pretty bright screen in the end. Now let's see the special settings for the display. Additional settings and display. We got brightness level, obviously. We also have screensaver, double tap the screen to wake, and contrast and colors. You can set up automatic contrast or increased contrast, and then you can tweak the colors to warm, standard, or cold, or better said cool, as is written right here. And then let's see what else. We got one-handed mode here for a 4-incher phone to simulate a 4-incher or a 3.5-incher. And that's pretty much all the options you can play with. Screen wise, good display, okay brightness, vivid colors, wide viewing angles. And now it's time to talk about the camera. So at the back, 13 megapixel shooter with Sony and Samsung technology. It has an f2.0 aperture, 5-element lens, 2-tone flash. One flash is cool and one flash is warm. At the front, 5 megapixel shooter for selfies, 36 beauty profiles, and f1.8 aperture, which if true would be great for a selfie camera. Also wide angle lens. Now as far as the camera app is concerned, it doesn't open up very fast, but I guess it just did. So let's maybe close some apps and try again. Okay, now it's closed and let's see how fast it opens now. You just saw it wasn't the fastest opening of a camera app in the world, but also not the slowest. Sadly, while testing the camera, I had a bunch of freezes and lags. That was before the software update, and it may also have been influenced by the 40 degrees Celsius temperature outside right now in July. Anyway, keep that in mind, some freezes and lags for the camera app, but maybe because of extreme conditions and before a software update. The UI is transparent and minimalistic. As you can see, it feels a bit like the one in iOS, like the one on the latest Huawei phones. Pretty good frame rate, as you can also notice. And if you swipe up, you'll see the main capture modes. We got refocus, HHT, which stands for night image stabilization with long exposure to take better nighttime shots, timer, beautify, there's also panorama, and finally manual. Beautify makes more sense if you're going to use the front camera. In the main mode there are 4 options: high, mid, low or off. If you go to the front camera in order to take a selfie, there are more options here, these ones, and as you can see it can sense your age. It tells you your sex and your age by simply detecting your face. Okay, and depending on the face detection, there are 36 beauty profiles available. The other options, so let's swipe again. This is beautify, this panorama, and this is manual. Let's see what manual is all about. So it has ISO. ISO goes up to 3200. We also have exposure time, which is basically the shutter speed. It goes from 1,000th of a second up to 2 seconds. The focus can be set up to 100 levels, so a lot of variation here. And then there's white balance with options like fluorescent, cloudy, daylight, incandescent and all that. Okay, let's swipe up again and deactivate this mode, and then we have the settings. Okay, so in the settings we have save location, camera sounds, time watermark, grid lines, scan QR codes, press and hold shutter button, camera frame, picture quality, high, standard or low, face detection, face recognition, which tells you your age and gender, volume button functions, anti-banding, auto exposure settings, frame average, center weight or spot metering, contrast with quite a few options, saturation and sharpness, or you can restore everything to its default value. Okay, now let's see what happens if you swipe down. You will trigger about 11 filters to play with. Dawn, autumn, mirror, mosaic, Japanese, normal and other things like that. So let's keep normal here. And then on the right side we got the HDR option with a few options of itself. Off, live and pro. Pro is basically the standard one, live is real-time HDR, and off obviously is HDR off. Then we got flash options like torch, off, on or auto, the front camera shortcut, shutter button, video button and gallery shortcut. If you press the video button, you will also have a HDR option, so you can film with HDR, which is good news. And then we have slow motion, so you can take slow motion videos but only in 720p, not full HD. Time lapse is also here, and a few more settings for the video. We got camera sounds, image capture while recording video, stabilization, video quality, full HD, HD or SD, focus mode, tap or continuous autofocus, and time-lapse interval with quite a few options here. Volume buttons, and that's pretty much everything you will be tweaking in the video experience. So let's go back to the photo, and as you can see the focus is reasonably fast and picture taking is also pretty fast. Okay, and zooming, it's a bit laggy and a bit slow, up to 6.1 times. And other things here, when you tap on the screen, there's also a special exposure mechanism. By rotating this like a safe, you can go from -2 to +2 and play with the exposure. Okay, enough about that. Let's actually take a picture and see what it looks like. A bit of lag was present there, but the quality is quite good. You can see all the details of this chateau, all the towers, the courtyard, even the dirt and dust. Excellent illumination. And now we're done with that. Let's go to the gallery and see the shots we've taken outside on a very sunny day. So we have dozens of shots here. I'm going to start with this one. It's a very crisp close-up shot of a locket with excellent texture. You can really feel the metal, you can feel it, you can almost taste it, thanks to the quality and texture of the shot. Keep in mind, all of these shots were taken on a very sunny July day, which may have led to a bit of a lag and maybe overheating. We got this very crisp shot here with excellent details of leaves, also excellent color, exposure and brightness. And the shots taken in the shade aren't very impressive. The shades takes up too much space in the picture. It's a bit exaggerated. Then we got a very good HDR, so regular shot and shot with HDR doing its job. Then we got a landscape shot that for some reason on a sunny day is very dark. The panorama feels burnt a lot. It's not crisp at all, and the resolution is disappointing for a panorama, 2912 over 400 pixels. And then we get this shot here with a very nice hue of blue. And once again testing the HDR, regular shot in the shade, HDR shot pulling everything into the light. Then some selfies, like this one here. If you keep zooming in, you'll see that the details are great for the selfie cam, and also the brightness is excellent in this selfie shot. So the front camera is very good for a mid-ranger, and I would have to say it has done a fine job. And then some more shots of graffiti with an excellent texture here, and a nice close-up of a flower, which this camera can handle very well apparently. Okay, so we move further from this picture here. We run into a series of shots that have a pretty good exposure, white balance and focus, although there is the occasional blurry shot like this one, or this one that feels burnt here. Aside from the burnt pictures and those that are inexplicably dark, I would have to say that the exposure, white balance and focus is okay. Once again, the effect of HDR, regular shot, HDR shot, pulling everything into the light. Another burnt shot. It was a very sunny day, but the colors looked pretty much okay. Okay, this is an area where we tried out the magic focus thing, so you can focus on this stick right here, or on the floor and blur the stick. Even more shots with or without HDR, some colors in the mix, vivid colors on a hugely torrid day. Sometimes the colors are a bit oversaturated and sometimes they get totally burnt. Some crisp close-ups of flowers with very good details, which you'll be able to see also on the PC, not only on this little screen. And when it comes to the hue of red in the full sun, you'll get a series of burnt shots that we didn't quite like. Overall, this handset is okay for close-ups and if you want vivid colors, but inexplicably there are some burnt shots and some very dark pictures. There's also the lag and freeze, either because of the software or the very high temperature. Other than that, I have to say that I'm going to put this phone in the area of the HTC Desire 120 that was also a bit underwhelming in full sun, so it's about the same level. It's totally below the Huawei Honor 6, Honor 6 Plus, the Huawei P8 and P8 Lite, or the Galaxy A5 since we're mentioning mid-rangers. Now, as far as the video capture goes, this model can film in Full HD, MP4 format, 30 frames per second and 50 megapixel bitrate. So let's see video number 1. Which is a Full HD one. It's also a bit dark, not very crisp, and a bit shaky. It's very strange that for such a sunny day, the video is quite dark. Okay, then there's the second video. This one here. Problems with the wind and the microphone, sudden exposure change, a bit shaky, and reasonable color quality, plus pretty much okay in close-ups. Then we took a Slo-Mo video, which is this one, which was actually pretty good. Let's turn it back a bit. It feels more like a GIF than a video. Anyway, slow motion is here and it looks reasonable when it comes to the quality. And then we have a pretty strange video. It's strange because it's very buggy. It feels like it's lagging. That was one of the points where the devices was overheated. It lagged a lot, and that's the result. A picture that's moving in frames, not quite the video we were expecting. Okay, and then another video. This is a Slo-Mo yet again, with a lesser quality this time. It's theoretically HD, but it feels more like 480p, and speaking of 480p, the last video is full HD, but it doesn't look the part. Also, the acoustics are a bit echoey. Okay, so it can be the heat of an extreme 40 degrees Celsius weather, or maybe the software, but the filming is totally below the photo capture. It's a bit underwhelming. And once again, I have to remind you of the HTC Desire 820, which underwhelmed us when we tested it, and this model is even below that handset when it comes to filming. So overall, the conclusion regarding this camera is that it's good for close-ups, good for selfies, and good for colorful subjects and flowers, maybe food. Also, not very good on hot days, maybe in the winter. If you want to do a bit of editing, you can press edit and you get options like rotate, crop, a bunch of filters, and adjust. That includes its own sharpness, hue, and contrast options. Okay, now let's talk about the performance, and for performance I'm going to start with the temperature, where we obviously have a problem. After playing the game Riptide Gp2 for 15 minutes, we achieved 46.4 degrees Celsius, which means serious overheating, and it gets even hotter outside in a sunny weather, so beware. Also, when it gets very hot, it gets stuck and lags quite a bit. Okay, we go even further now. Let's go to the web browser, which is here, and let's open up gsndom.com. I have to say that the browser is a bit laggy when it comes to inputting stuff and having it appear on the screen, which is not good, obviously. And not the fastest browser in the world, that's for sure, but pretty smooth scrolling and good pinch to zoom. The keyboard, you can see it right here, it's well spaced, it's comfy, but it's a bit laggy once you start typing longer words and want to have them appear up top. So keep that in mind, the keyboard is a bit laggy. As far as the phone section goes, we got a crisp and loud sound, pretty clear, but the signal wasn't good all the time. Sometimes the signal got to 30% out of the blue for no reason. And now benchmarks. I decided to compare the Xiaomi Mi 4i with the HTC Desire 820 that I keep mentioning and the Huawei P8 Lite. This is a battle of the Snapdragon 615 processor that's on both the Xiaomi and the HTC, with the Kirin 620, also an octa-core, on the Huawei P8 Lite. All three phones have 2 GB of RAM, and now let's see the results. And we have to go to screenshots, and let's see them one by one. I'm going to start with Quadrant. In Quadrant, we scored 23,827. We beat the HTC Desire 820 that barely surpassed 20,000. We also beat the Huawei P8 Lite that had 9,400. In Antutu, pretty good score of 39,566. 566, yes, and we beat the HTC Desire 120 that had 31,000, and we narrowly beat the Huawei P8 Lite that had 35,596. In Nena Mark II, which should be here somewhere, we scored 57.4 frames per second. I've seen better, to be honest. The HTC Desire 120 had 59.9, the Huawei P8 Lite had 60.2, so they both beat us. In Velamo, in the HTML5 test, 2638, just 300 points better than the Desire 820 and 700 points better than the Huawei P8 Lite. In 3D Mark, the score is not very impressive, but still impressive enough to beat the rivals. So 8355, we beat the Huawei P8 Lite that scored 5656, but we got beaten by the Desire 820 with its 9276 points. Then there's also Gfxbench. It's 14 frames per second in the T-Rex off-screen 1080p test, and while this has 14 frames, the Desire 820 has 15 frames and the P8 Lite only 5.6 frames. Geekbench 3, a decent score, 736 over 2747 in the single-core and multi-core test respectively. The HTC Desire 820 had 666 here and 2522 here, while the Huawei P8 Lite 591 here and 2600 here, so we beat both of them. We also did a speed test with a pretty good 24 megapixel in download and a 19 megapixel in upload. We were close to the HTC Desire 820 that had 24 and 21 here, and finally we beat the Huawei P8 Lite that had 19 and 20 here. Browser Mark is also in the mix with a low score of 963, below the 1461 of the HTC phone and the 1045 of the Huawei phone. Finally, SunSpider, where the lower is the better. We didn't have a very good score here either, 1330. We were beaten by the HTC with 1074, but we beat the Huawei P8 Lite with its 1618 points. And then the last one, Pcmark X, 10,312. Very close, but we got beaten by the HTC with 10,351 and we got beaten by the Huawei P8 Lite with its 11,415 points. Overall, we win 4 out of the 11 tests in front of the HTC and 8 out of 11 in front of the Huawei P8 Lite. Both of them are mid-range models and the HTC phone has many features in common with this handset here. Those are not impressive benchmark results, especially for a handset that supposedly wants to challenge 2014 flagships to a duel. The phone gets a bit laggy and overheated as you use it more and more, especially on a very sunny day. However, thanks to the latest update, it lags a bit less than before. And a game like Riptide Gp2, let's see how that runs on this handset, provided that we can find it. Here we go. This is our typical benchmark game, 3D graphics, racing, high-speed racing. It doesn't load very fast, as you can see. I find it strange that it takes it so long to load. Anyway, graphics look nice, the controls seem to respond well. What I noticed as I played it was a bit of lag between the sound and the image, but only a bit, and some minor frame rate losses in the gameplay. You just probably noticed a bit of lag, especially when the ski jet is sinking into the waves. So yes, lag is present as well in the gaming, not only in the UI. Now let's talk about the operating system and user interface. Now as far as the OS in UI is concerned, let's have a look at the settings area, about phone, and here you'll find that we're running Android 5.0.2 Lollipop with MIUI on top. It's MIUI 6, actually version 6.6.6, which is kind of creepy, but the updates are very often here. From what I've heard, this released MIUI comes with weekly updates. So as you can see, there is no app drawer here. All of the apps are placed on home screens, which is a familiar experience for many Chinese firms. Huawei also does it, and I've seen Lenovo also doing it. And aside from the lack of app drawer, before the current software update, the lag was quite present. Now it's still a bit present, but less prominent than before. Other things we're mentioning here is that MIUI 6 has long animations. Sometimes it freezes in some apps, it eats a ton of RAM, and as you can see, the icons are very minimalistic and, frankly speaking, a bit too simple compared to the current standards, and also a bit glossy. Multitasking is done by pressing this button here and then swiping up. You can see the apps open like this, and you can tap that button to close all the apps that are running. And the icons, I feel that are kind of childish. It's like they took the skeuomorphic design from iOS and went even further and made everything basically a symbol with a square. So pretty childish and very simple. If you pinch the screen, you can move apps around, which is exactly what it says. Okay, and then let's go back. You can add widgets, and each of these sections opens up a subsection. We got 2 widgets here, some here, very minimalistic and not very far from the stock ones, from KitKat rather than Lollipop. The widgets are generic and minimal as well. We got wallpapers here, also ones from online, and finally effects like overslide, slide, crossfade, page, cascade, rotate and cube. Now the drop down area is transparent and has notifications here, plus quick settings here related to connectivity and such. Very minimalistic interface here as well. It's gray and white with very simple symbols. It's very bare bone and Emotion UI like on Huawei. Okay, let's go to the settings. You already saw part of them. We get to customize the notifications and wallpaper. There's a do not disturb feature here. Also privacy settings, including encryption, options for the lock screen, additional settings that include the one-handed mode, storage, notification light, buttons, and accessibility. And then there is the Mi account. There is also the other section of accounts, even more accounts, syncing, Mi Cloud in case you're using that, call settings, call recording and such, contacts, messaging, security, and finally gallery, music, notes, recorder and scanner. That's not a fingerprint scanner but rather a QR code scanner. And finally Teams is also available here. Okay, so we're done with the settings. It's that part of the review where we analyze the pre-installed app list. First of all, we're dealing with a bit of bloatware here, so let's start and take the apps one by one. We got camera, gallery, music and Teams, with the themes being organized into an online shop and offering the ability to customize what you want from the theme. Further on, settings, Play Store and tools. Tools include Mi account, mail, updater, clock, recorder, radio, calculator, compass, scanner, report bug and downloads. And then the Google Suite, we got Gmail, Chrome, YouTube, Maps, Google+, Photos, Hangouts, Play Music, Voice Search, Google Settings, Play Newsstand, Play Books, Play Games and Play Movies. I haven't seen Play Movies on a device before. And here we go, this is Google Maps on the Xiaomi Mi 4i in its latest iteration. Finding us pretty fast, working pretty much lag free so far, and rendering the landscape quite well. And then we proceed to the other apps. We got calendar with a not so material design. We got notes, your standard note taking application, allowing you to sync notes and add pics. We got weather with a very interesting user interface, minimalistic and at the same time, so to say, medical, if I can say that. We also have security with a few interesting features here. We got a cleaner, data usage, block list, battery setup, also virus scanner and permissions. And then there's the file explorer, there's Facebook and WPS Office, Swift key, keyboard, Flexi, a Mi store where you can find apps, and that's pretty much it. Once again, we have quite a bit of bloatware on this handset and it suffers from a bit of lag, but that problem was a bit solved by the latest updates. And now it's time for the verdict. Okay, so this is an affordable phone, so that's good. It's also light and comfy. It has a good battery inside, almost 10 hours of video playback. It has a crisp and bright screen, an okay picture quality, especially in close-ups and colorful shots. It also takes pretty good selfies. And those are all the pluses I can remember here. On the cons side, we don't have such a high volume coming from this speaker, a bit underwhelming, below 80 decibels. The video capture is not impressive for the camera at the back. There are some burnt and blurry pics, also with the camera at the back. The device suffers a bit from overheating, quite a bit. It becomes laggy at times. It also has bloatware, and MIUI 6 is certainly not my favorite ROM. It's a big resource eater. And now some grades for the Xiaomi Mi 4i, an 8.5 out of 10 for the design, an 8.9 for the hardware, and a 6.5 for OS and UI. It may run Lollipop, but the experience is spoiled by MIUI 6 that also doesn't include some of the typical Lollipop features. So 6.5 for the OS and UI. The final grade for this model is 7.96 out of 10, and considering we only get to pay $200 for it, I'm going to go ahead and bump up the grade to 8.2 out of 10 for the Mi 4i. Because of the MIUI and a bit of lag, the grade is smaller than some of you may have expected, but the overall experience is good if you want three things from the phone: a good camera for selfies and regular shots to post on Facebook, and a good display, and finally a low price. So if you want those three aspects and are ready to ignore the rest, you may want the Xiaomi Mi 4i. But keep in mind, there is a bit of a problem with overheating and a bit of a problem with lag. So from gsndon.com, 8.2 out of 10 final grade for the Xiaomi Mi 4i. Bye bye.